Our guest today is Jason Paul. Welcome, Jason Paul.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I talked to you before when you submitted your movie Malign to our film festival, and you was going to make it down, but the second night of the festival was rained out.
Yeah, I remember that actually. I was a little disappointed. I was actually excited to come down there. It seemed like a really fun event and all the festivities that are around there. That was one of the ones I was really excited to kind of travel to actually. Things happen.
I was looking at your Facebook page. It says you're originally from California.
Yeah, so I keep everyone guessing. I was actually born in a small town in Western Pennsylvania. And I do this for deliberate reasons because, the world's gotten extremely crazy, to be honest with you. And I have a 9-year-old. So for her protected interests, I never really list exactly where I was born and where I'm from. And it's just to protect her, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, I've been all over, to be honest. But I was born actually in a small town in the Allegheny Mountains in Western Pennsylvania.
Well, good. That was my impression from talking to you before, but it says different on the Facebook page.
Right.
I see you've been doing acting various types since about 2005's your earliest IMDB credit.
Correct. It's crazy because I moved to LA when I graduated from college here, and I went to college over in upstate New York. And ironically, there was a snowstorm that happened, and literally, no BS, about 7 feet of snow fell in 2 days. And I looked around, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here. So I called my mother on the phone, and I said, hey, I'm gonna stop and see you. She's like, well, you can't because the roads are closed. I'm like, well, as soon as they open, I'm gonna stop and see you. She's like, where you going? I'm like, I'm going to the beach. I can't take this cold weather anymore. And I just picked Los Angeles of all places to end up. So I went out there with about $3,000 to my name, and that's it. Just packed up and left. I didn't go out there with the intentions to act or wanting to become an inspiring artist. I just went out there just to get away, and it just kind of happened. One thing led to another. I was doing construction for a while. Then I found the restaurant industry. During the restaurant industry, I waited on Stephen Levy from Frameworks Entertainment and Fern Castle, casting director. And it's kind of a funny story. We were short staffed. We call it in the weeds in the restaurant industry. When you're overwhelmed because we don't got enough people working. And they happened to be my table. And I remember Fern asking for a Coke at the time. It was Coca-Cola. And we gave it to her and it was flat. Then we tried diet, it was flat. Well, we brew our own iced tea, we give it to her and it's flat. I'm like, interesting. I said, all right, man. Instead of getting angry, I said, all right, let's bust balls here. And I just started going in. And by the end of the conversation, Steven's like, hey, do you act? I'm like, no. I said, my roommate and I, we have a construction company on the side. He's like, hey, why don't you come up to my house and, put a cabana in? I'm looking to do this at XYZ. And I get up there, man, I see this guy's house in Mount Olympus. And I was like, wow, I didn't know houses like this existed. And then from that point forward, I just started auditioning and getting in the class and honing in. And then I booked my first gig back in 2005. It was with David Sterling. It was a film titled Axe Grinder. And then I booked the NBA and I got to host for the NBA, which was extremely cool. I did All-Star Break in Las Vegas, got to host with Shaquille O'Neal and do some fun things. And then, basically it's just about building and sticking with it and getting better every day and being in it for the right reasons. In 2009, I took a break. When I moved back to New York City, I became a level 1 wine sommelier at a Michelin 2-star restaurant, and my daughter was born in 2010. And I took time to be a dad. You got to do things you got to do. And I became responsible for somebody else's life. So I had to make sure that she was taken care of and given the needs that she needed and putting my dream on hold. And about 3 years ago, my daughter is now, this is when she's 6 going on 7. My mother became a a helper and helped nanny my child. And we started coming back to the PA area more often. And as of last year, I took an executive chef job at a country club, being the fact that I only had to work 9 months and I would get all of pilot season off. Well, then all this happened, COVID hits. And I said during the season when, most people regress during COVID, they're like, oh, I said, hey, man, I'm going to come out on top. So I started working extremely hard at reinvesting my money in the stock market, working on my mind, my body, my spirituality. And recently, man, I don't know what it is by the power of positivity. I just kind of put this energy out there. And right now, like I'm on my 5th booking in the last 35 days, which is, it's extremely humbling, to be honest with you. It just feels like everything's clicking right now.
Well, I see that you were in this project called Vindication. Tell me something about that.
Oh my God. So Vindication it's a funny story. So roughly 3 years ago, I was doing a project called Homeless Henry with Jay Head. Jay Head was the little kid, if you remember, in Blindside in Hancock, the movie. And I get a call up and I audition, and Stuart and I have, from God's Own Ministry Productions, have built a really good relationship over the last few years. But I was down there filming that, long story short, minus the 7-hour plane delay because of storms. But I finally get there and we do all that. And it's on a Saturday, and I remember getting a call. I can't remember exactly if it's Saturday, it might have been Thursday. But I remember we were in a high school doing a scene. I saw the photos, and I get a phone call from Ronnie Hummel. And she's the casting director on the show. And she goes through and tells me, hey, do you want to come over? There's a chance that you could be a part of this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to say no. And I'm like, I'm not saying no because I don't want to do it. I'm saying no because I'm afraid that, because I watched the first episode before I auditioned for season 1. And I'm like, I have a feeling that this thing's going to become a huge part of our everyday lives. And I told her that was the reason that I said no. So we go through the whole entire season. It's done. It just starts gaining the recognition that it deserves. God willingly just putting that. The show has such amazing substance and so many amazing human beings that are involved in the show. So Ronnie and I, 3 years ago, based on my audition tape, I had no idea how to do a self-tape at that time. And this lady really went out of her way to hold my hand, basically, between not knowing how to use Dropbox, not knowing what I was doing. And many people today don't do that for individual artists. And she was such a kind-hearted human. And I just somehow, man, we just connected and we built this huge relationship. So moving forward to now where we're at, season 2 starts and I get a phone call. And, Jared and I have built, that's the director now, have built a great friendship. And it's just one huge family. Like if you're on the show, you're family. And we went down there and we filmed episode 1 and 2 of Vindication season 2. It is now the #1 trending television series on PureFlix, and it's just an amazing feel-good family. It's not preachy, it's not over the top. It's everyday problems that you and I would go through, and it's faith-based. And it was just an incredible experience. And I feel like that kind of kicked off this 5-gig booking for me. And I don't know if it just gave me more confidence or gave me a sense of belonging, or it was the 3,700-mile drive that I engaged in to quarantine myself to get down there, because obviously we were in a pandemic at the time, and we still are currently. But I don't know what happened, but my whole mindset. Plus, I've been taking class with Anthony Grosser Studios in New York City. The cool part about it is I can zoom in. I can zoom into class now. I don't have to travel to be in class. It's just, I don't know what's happened, but I just thrown myself out there with positivity and put the work in over years of developing who I am as a person, who I am as an actor, who I am as a father, and just everything is clicking on all cylinders right now.
Well, I saw on your page you recently announced you'll be booked the feature film Justice, and you're also booked to play the role Luke, If My People. to be
Oh,
filmed in Virginia.
yeah. It's funny with If My People is a funny story. So about 2 months ago, I read, I sent in a couple audition tapes, then I got a call back, then we met. And me, like, I can't give too much information out about it because we haven't filmed yet. We start filming next 3 weeks from now. But I decided to give the character an accent based on what I thought. And then because I naturally have an accent too. And then they're like, well, can you take the accent away? Well, I spent 4 days giving this character an accent. So I'm like, okay. So I stripped it down and I pronounced 2 words, and then my natural accent came out. So that kind of like, I get an email saying, hey, you're such a great actor. We loved you, but your accent's a problem. Would you be willing to read for Eugene? And I'm like, sure. So I do 2 or 3 takes on that. I also sent back another read because I really wanted the character I read for, man. Like, he's such a deep character. And I read for that too. And, then we had another Skype meeting a Zoom meeting when I was down in Texas. I brought all my stuff with me because I had audition stuff happening as I was waiting to film. And basically, I don't hear from them. And it's like down to me and another person again. And then a few days ago, as soon as I get back home, I get an email saying, hey, would you be interested in playing Luke? And it's just like the fate of the destination. Like, I'm supposed to be there with these people at this time, at this point in my life. And I keep telling people it's not about sometimes how big the role is or how small the role is. It's about making a name. Like, if I lasted for 2 months, I built this relationship with the casting director, the producer, the director, because you keep seeing me. It's kind of the same thing that happened with Washington Armor. Listen, this is a crazy story too to fit into these bookings. So Washington Armor shoots down in Texas, and it's based on a true story about bulletproof George Washington. And I love this whole story because it's about history, and history needs to be told. It can't be erased. And it was the second to last day I think I was there, and I'm driving around doing some things down in Texas that I need to take care of. And all of a sudden I get a phone call, and they're like, can you get here now for your live callback? I'm like, absolutely. So I dropped whatever I had. I was in flip-flops, a backwards baseball cap, Buffalo Bills training shorts, and a t-shirt. Well, my t-shirt had this big logo on it, and I knew it'd be distraction. So I run into Walmart, throw my mask on, because you have to wear a mask in stores there. And I buy a t-shirt. I go back out. I slick my hair back after I sign into the building. And I go upstairs and I get on the phone with a dialect coach. I've been working with Matthew. He's helped me a lot on my dialect. And I'm on the phone with Matthew, and I'm asking questions, and I'm just going through my head everything I need to do. And I get to go in this audition. And you know how good it felt to be in a live audition, to connect with the 3 people in that room. And they took my measurements. So this is one thing that I've been after. I've read for them just to finally meet them in person. It's like I've known them my whole life. Once again, it goes back to Ronnie Hummel, who's the casting director on the project. She's just such a great resource and a great human, and she has a great eye for talent and people who are upcoming. And I mean, I can't say enough positive things about Ronnie Hummel as a casting director, and not even as a casting director, but as a human being, and her purpose and her ability to have a heart to want to help people who she believes in and to find talent. And I mean, that was my Texas story, and just ever since I've been on that journey, like I said, I don't know what's happening, but my world is it's aligning to a point that I'm even dumbfounded by it sometimes. I've read now for 2 of my first big lead roles. I'm waiting on those. I'm waiting on another project that I'll find out about next week. On Justice was one of those things that I read for it, and it happened to be I was in Atlanta coming back home, and I stopped for the night, and I sent in the monologue that they asked, and I said, hey man, the lighting's going to be off, but this is what it is. And I get a phone call, an email actually as I was driving home. I think it's right when I hit Virginia. I got an email from them saying, hey man, we're shooting in the end of August. Are you willing to come back to South Carolina? I said, absolutely. So it's just been a crazy journey between Vindication and Justice and If My People. I'm really hoping for Washington Armor because I love doing the British accent and changing how I talk. And I guess some other bigger things happening. I just got an email about a project that's shooting in October in Florida. but I mean, it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful with, I just put my energy out to God and let him lead my life. And things have just been completely aligning for me, to be honest, Evan.
Yeah, I noticed when I talked to you last week or so, setting up this appointment, that you were sending me messages with a British accent.
Oh yeah, dude, I was practicing still, man. I was so still there, man. Like, I was so pumped to go in and do this. And it was just fun to do. And like, because at first, man, it was funny. I remember when I got the call from Ronnie, or the email, I'm sorry. And and I'm just like, I don't think I can do this. And then I'm like, you know what? I got this. It's funny because everyone's like, hey, go watch Braveheart, ha ha. For Scottish and British, they're very similar. It depends on. First of all, I didn't realize there's like 152 different British accents. Same with Scottish. There's different dialects within the region, So I reached out locally to a coach, and him and I actually built an amazing friendship. He's a pastor of a church, ironically, and he's a big history buff. So I love just going over and hanging out with him and his wife, and we just talk, man. We have tea. I know it's crazy to hear a guy like myself say, hey, man, I just hang out and drink tea with the pastor of a church, man, and we talk about history. But it's actually some of the most rewarding conversations I've had in a long time. And he's just a great person. And I just remember when I was on the phone with him, I'm like, just keep talking to me. Because like with Scottish, they talk in like in a different, it's almost like a song. Like, did you take a walk this morning? Like they talk like that up and down. What a British is like the British man of war. It's like all about having like a chest bass and not overrolling your R's. But it was such an amazing experience to be live. I can't even explain what it felt like finally to be in a live audition again. Because I haven't had a live audition for dang near 2.5 years. You know what I mean? A lot of it's now via Skype, via the new way of life, is all online, which is great, but I feel like you miss that connection, that human connection, that energy that when you walk in, sometimes it works against you. Sometimes you're so nervous that you fumble on your words. But I love feeling the energy from human people in the room for me.
In person, you can see like their faces better, get an
Yes.
impression of what's going on, I think, better than you can over a Zoom or Skype conference. You sort of feel what's going and feel what's working or isn't working when you're talking to someone in person that you don't get.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I went in there. I never had more confidence in this because I knew I prepped. So it's, I started talking to these guys back in January, and I went through British, I went through Scottish, I went back. And it's ironically, it's hilarious because I mistakenly thought that the character that I was reading for on that day was Scottish. So I did it both ways. And I had both ways, but like just based on the luck of the draw, the sides that I got were already the sides that I prepped so many times over and over again. And it was just, like I said, the world was aligning at these moments for me. And I can't really explain it. It's just this force that, it's kind of like when things are going your way, and it's not being overly, I would say, cocky is a bad word. It's just knowing that the gracefulness of everything is coming together and aligning for you. Like you're just supposed to be in this place at this time, at this section of your life. And finally, when I kind of let go of everything and started controlling Jason and controlling only what I can control and cutting out all the negative, I haven't watched news. I cut out all these negative aspects of my life. I'm very humble and very grateful for everything that has happened to me in my life. And I've worked on it and getting better at everything that I do. And every day I go to bed and thinking how thankful I am to be able to wake up the next morning. And, I start with that, and I always start to try to be better than the day I was before. And I'm not competing with you. Like, I want you to be successful. I want the person beside me to be successful. I'm competing for the best version of Jason. And once I really started focusing on that kind of energy for myself, so many doors have opened for me, and I'm just extremely grateful for it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the films you've done locally that I've seen or we had screened at our NAFCO film screenings.
Okay.
Whisper Giants
Yes.
with Aaron Dunbar and a film by Don Swanson.
Correct. A Wish for Johns was amazing. It's one of those feel good movies that, you know, when I see it, I compare it to the feeling of Pete's Dragon. I don't know if you've seen the new Pete's Dragon, but Aaron and I still talk today. Don Swanson and I still talk today. Swanson and I teamed up. We did a short film called Broken, and it came out amazing. I shot it on my cell phone. I held the cell phone the entire time, minus 2 takes. One I used Ida, my daughter, and the other I used Ida's mother, Gina, and to hold the camera for me. And we did these mini clips, and this project is mind blowing. It's so raw and so emotionally driven. It's just incredible. And then with Aaron and I are working on a feature currently. He's writing it, trimming it down right now. It's something him and I have connected with over the last 3 years quietly and talked about. And I'm not going to reveal too much of it because it's not really my project to discuss at this point. But I built, like, it's funny because, you know, in every project you kind of build relationships with people, and that's what this game is about, is building solid relationships, building healthy relationships, and building organic relationships. You know, you don't ever look at somebody like, what can that person do for me? Because then, like, it's just not the way it works, you know. And if you're in it for the reasons that you want to be famous or you want to have the fortune that comes with it, you're in the wrong business, man. You know, you got to organically do these things because your heart thumps to do it. You get excited to it. You're like a little kid. You know, you want to. I do this because I want to inspire. I want to inspire others based on my upbringing, where I came from. I want to use this. Not only do I love the challenge of breaking characters down, man, but like, for me, it's the ability to inspire the next person in line, or giving that innate value to somebody who might not think that they're good enough, or, you know, the people you come in contact with on set, and the relationships you build. And it's funny because I used to get these big highs and big lows, like, you know how it is when you film. You know, when it's done, you're kind of depressed. You're like, oh man, this is the first trip that I've had. And mind you, I was still 19 hours from home when my trip ended. And I never got a depressed state this time around. It was never a high low for me. It's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I knew more projects were coming. And like I said, man, like, it's about building relationships, believing in yourself, putting in the work, and, you know, putting that, you know, that energy out there. It's like the power of positivity, and it becomes contagious. And people start to see that energy and that kind of swag that you have. Not swag being cocky, but that swag being believing, being organic, you know, being heartfelt, being a good person, man. It's plain and simple. And you know, things do come to people who put that kind of work in. And it's just a matter of how long are you willing to hang on to this dream. You know, my big saying is, if you're gonna dream, you better dream big. But if you're gonna dream big, you gotta stay awake and make it happen. You can't just throw a dream out there and not be willing to fight and work for it. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Yeah.
those guys came to me a couple years ago, and I read the script, man, and it was incredible. It was an incredible script. Swanson did a good job. Aaron did a great job. Like, and those are two of the relationships I still have today from 3 years ago. I think that was like a 2017, 18-ish, right around there. That was actually one of my first film comebacks that I had. That and another project which was called Back Roads, that was shot by Drew Pizzo. He's a local guy from over by Philadelphia. Him and Tom Smith teamed up with Sick and Twisted Productions. They did a film project over down that road.
It says you appeared as Calvin Sherwood in Occurrence at Mills Creek. Is that the feature length one, or
Yes.
because he did 2 versions of it, a short and a feature length?
Yeah, we did I believe it's the feature. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a feature, actually. Um, it's funny when he came to me with Kelvin, and at the time, I mean, dude, if he comes to me tomorrow, I'm gonna do something. Just like with Aaron, you know, you build those relationships with people. Um, and I read it, and I had an idea for this, man. And I called Swanson up, and I said, Swanee, I got an idea for this character, man. Do you trust me to do it? I said, I built this crazy backstory on this character. And even though it's only a day or two shoot, you know, I think it was a 1-day shoot, actually. We did all my stuff in a day. I said, I have this idea. And he's like, yeah, man, go with it. And gave me a little more direction while I was there. And I mean, this character, man, I loved it. It's in my new demo. But I don't think it's out yet. So I don't push my demo online because there's some stuff in there that hasn't been released yet. But I use it for casting. But when he came to me, like I said, it's about the relationships, being healthy relationships, you know, and doing the things that you can do to be a good person to somebody else. And like I said, Swanee did a great job on Broken. It's one of the easiest. I know it sounds weird to say, man. It was an easy project to pull off. And Malign was a little different. Malign was more of my baby. It was something that really held truth to my heart. A lot of it took place in the editing room. I mean, we shot Malign in one day. My budget was about $3,800 because I had to bring everybody in for the day. Then we spent the night and food and all the things we did. And we got lucky with Malign on some things. I cut out 3 pages last minute because I didn't want to go over budget. We shot at Aaron's house, actually, in his backyard. It was a perfect spot for that. And it's getting dark, and the sun's starting to go down, and we still have one more shot to get, or this whole day's we're going to go over budget. I'm going to have to spend another couple grand. And we used my daughter for various reasons because I didn't want someone else's parents looking over my shoulder when it came crunch time. And a pivotal scene came down to the ending where, if you haven't seen Malign, she's sitting on the dock, and she's got to fall in the water. Mind you, it's still April. I think it was April, end of April. Yeah, it's still into April. We just got lucky with the day. The water was pretty cold, if I remember correctly. And I'm up top, and Drew's down there, and Adam Block is an amazing sound guy, an amazing sound engineer. We can hear my daughter crying. She's like, I don't want to go in the water. And then you have Rachel Keefe. She's so amazing too. She's such a gifted actress. And she's there trying to comfort her. So I run all the way back. I mind you, about 150 yards away from the pond. We got the drone shot, like everything's got to click. And I get down to Ida. I'm like, Ida, please, I just need you to fall in the bed. And Daddy, I don't want to. And mind you, man, she's a 6-year-old. So you know what I mean? I'm asking her to do a lot here. And I said, Ida, please. So I go back up. She's crying again. So I come back down. Mind you, we got about 2 minutes to make this shot happen, or it's done. I'm like, Ida, Daddy will give you $100. Please just fall in the lake for me. So on action, boom, gunshot goes. I come flying in. She falls in the water. I jump in. She panics a little bit, but we cut around it. We had enough footage between the drone, the running shot, and the B camera that it worked. And it was actually more powerful not to see it up front, to let your mind wander. But that was all shot at Aaron's house. So like Aaron's become, Aaron and I talk at least a couple times a month still. Swanee and I still stay in contact. It's just that tight-knit film community that we've kind of built with each other. And it's not what we can do for each other. It's like, how can we team up to make each other better? I mean, that's kind of our mindset.
Yes, Malign didn't work out all that well for the character played by your daughter.
In real life or in the movie?
In the movie.
It's funny because if you look at it from that standpoint, right? So I can talk now because Malign now is on its 4th. It's down to its last 4th festival. So talk about an incredible journey for me as a learning lesson in life. 1, 2, being able to shoot with my daughter. It's an experience that she'll treasure forever, and I'll treasure forever as her father. That's just who wouldn't want to make a film with their child, It's actually funny. Ida, my daughter, wrote the song. I have friends and family, that song. She wrote that in 1st grade, actually. That was her song.
Cool.
And with her, see, it depends how you look at it. Ideally, we wrote it very ambiguously and edited it together that way. Because if you're suffering from PTSD and you went through a traumatic experience, and you're remembering it, things don't come linearly. It's not like A, B, C, D, E on a series of events. It's like W, Y, B, F. Like, you know what I mean? That all jumbles together in life. So Ida is really Trisha's young self. And the big key in that is she says, Mommy, who taught you that song? Boom, you did, Mommy. So that key line right there, it's Trish seeing herself as her young self. The only thing that stays constant through that entire movie is the teddy bear. The teddy bear is symbolically, as time moves, from her young self to her middle-aged self when she's having the conversation on the porch where she's looking at, why do you let him do that to you? Because he's my daddy, he loves me. Boom. Well, you got to take care of this. You know what you got to do. Boom. You know what I mean? So that's her middle-aged self. Until her adult self, well, how do you get rid of everything? You got to erase it. So that's how that was supposed to come out. And certain people get it, some people don't. But I knew once people kind of understood it, it would take off. It's been an incredible festival run. We were in 49.7% success rate of festivals being accepted. I think we're nominated, I want to say it's like 17 times now. If I had to guess, it might be 15 to 17. I don't know exactly. We've been finalists a handful of times, and we've taken home 13 awards, I believe it is now. I actually stopped, because you know how this is, man, when you do a project and you just keep reliving it. But I mean, with this project alone, I made a name for myself in the film community. It led to me having to share an amazing experience with my daughter, to when we went out to Vegas to not to Megafest, that's coming up, to the festival in Las Vegas. My daughter and I brought her with me. It was her first plane ride. So, I took her to kind of show her. And just when we won a mental health awareness award for that festival. And I let her just take all the spotlight and go up and get it. And it was just so amazing to see her just kind of embrace, what it takes. I wanted to show her what it takes. I got to go to California, which is an amazing festival. We went out there. I flew home early because I had to be back to work at the country club at the time. And my friend who helped write it, Cecil, she actually got the award for us. She went down and picked it up at the award ceremony. But I mean, I just been very blessed to have really, really amazing people around me. My mom actually helped co-produce it at the time. I was a few $100 short, so she lent me the money for the project, and I gave her money back eventually. But from the editing to learning with Adam Block, him and I sat down for I think it was 4 days straight, where I would drive, sit till 2 a.m. Hey Jay, you want to crash my couch? No, I'm gonna go home, get a good night's sleep. Boom, be right back there. So there's a time, man, where I was put a lot of miles on it because my heart, that's just what my heart said to do. It's not about the love for the art is so there. Like, I'm in love with it. I'm in love with the artwork from filming, from the writing to the very end of it.
Well, let's change subjects here and
Okay.
talk briefly about your lightning bug lights book.
Already. It's funny. Lightning Bug Lights I wrote about 6 books in 2009. This is before my daughter. I'm extremely creative in the morning around 4:30 a.m. Like my brain's firing. And if you're not a morning person, I suggest you're not around me in the morning, because I am like a bolt in a china cabinet. And my brain is firing 9 million miles a minute. And that's why I work out in the morning too, people, because I have the best workouts in the morning, because that's where my energy's at. So I wrote these stories, and then I put them away in a vault because I didn't know what to do with them. So I went through numerous avenues trying to find the right illustrator. And I was at a film festival in Buffalo, actually, and Sam Coliano, I did a film with him called Post-Apocalypto Commando Shark. And I think it just got a huge deal. I believe it's in Canada, and I want to say Japan, if I'm not mistaken. And I asked him who did a poster design for him, and he told me who did it. And at one point, I was under contract with a gentleman from Toronto, and I'm not going to say names, but I hired a lawyer team. I paid him his value to void the contract because I found a guy that I really wanted to use. And he kind of got the vision that I was after. And I emailed him, and he's from Belgium, and I'm like, please speak English. So I gave him a call, and he's like, hello? I'm like, thank you, God. So we start then developing Lightning Bug Lights. From start to finish, it took about 13 months because we put so much effort into the illustrations. And, I wrote it from the standpoint from, if a child could talk, how would this be? So I do that, and we submit it, and I get torn up by one judge, and the other judge sees the value in it and the artwork, and we win. we win the Bib Award for illustrations on it. And I ended up talking to somebody, and they said, "Hey, you have an amazing story here. Would you take some constructive criticism?" I said, "Absolutely," because that's how I am, man. If you don't tell me what I'm not good at, we can tell everybody what they're good at, right? And some people don't like constructive criticism. I embody it. I embrace it, because if you don't point out my weaknesses, and sometimes I may not be aware of them, then how can I become a better person, a better actor, a better father, a better human? You know, um, and those are things that younger Jason would be like, "How dare you? Who do you think you are telling me?" You know what I mean? Like, because that's just where my headspace was. Older Jason, the more mature Jason, the more fun-loving Jason now, that I found over the last year or two, like, I embrace that. Like, the only way that I can grow is for you to point out what I'm not doing right. From my acting coach. My acting coach does that. My personal people around me know that's how I am. It's funny, I train hard with a few people. If I stop working out before the second stops, they let me know, "Dude, you didn't finish." I said, "You're right, I didn't." Um, and those are the people I love to be around, because they're going to push me to limits, and I'm going to push them to limits. But back to the story. So we do that, and we look at the book, and we say, "Hey, can we do something?" So we changed the book. And then it was a process of, I finished the 2.0 version of Lightning Bug Lights in March. I got a new copyright date on it. I resubmitted it back to two big book ideas. And I'm in the process right now of talking with a commercial publication company, but I'm not sure if I want to take the deal, because I kind of already built this on my back, and I'm not really sure what they can do differently for me. And that's a conversation I'll have at a later time. I just have so much going on right now. I just got to really focus on the acting part for Jason right now. I know I just talked about myself in the third person, but for me, I gotta focus on what's happening. And you gotta listen to your gut. And my gut says just keep going with this acting stuff, and the book stuff's gonna fall in place. I'm not in a rush, but it's an amazing story about a lightning bug and a little girl. Her name just happens to be Ida. No, it was not written about my daughter. It was written before my daughter, because if I was gonna have a boy, I always said I was gonna name him Aja, and if I had a girl, I was gonna name her Ida. So that's a pretty long-winded story for a simple question, and I'm completely sorry for that.
Oh, that's cool. Post-apocalyptic Commando Shark, 2018.
Yes, sir.
In the post-apocalyptic future, the world is at war. The newly installed Soviet-Russian armies invaded the USA with the assistance of an evil German scientist who has created an army of superhuman soldiers, half man and half shark.
Think about that, right? It's funny, right? Because back then when I read it, I'm like, this is hilarious, right? And now where we're at today, I'm like, dude, I do not rule out any possibilities anymore. You know what I mean? Like, what is happening around us is absolutely frightening. And, it's funny because I did it. I was home in 2018 visiting, and I saw a post, and I reached out to him. And, this is one of the scenes that's on my demo. It's a great campfire scene. It's actually pretty awesome, to be honest with you. And that's how I met Sam. And, Sam's a great guy, works very hard, extremely talented. And based off of Sam kind of led me to Adam, who's who I've used before in project, and we've built a friendship together. He's an amazingly talented guy when it comes to being a sound engineer. It's just like I said, man, you don't know where you're supposed to be in life until when you think of where you're at now and how all these building blocks fit in. And then Sam's the one who led me to Stemo, who is now my illustrator, who, does amazing work. And we're on our second book already. We have now started a new book. It's titled Mr. It's about a rooster and a little boy. And, we plan on making 5 or 6 more books, man. So, all these little things, just playing to where you are today, and whether it's good or bad, man, you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take failures as lessons and building blocks and build you up. You can't shy away from your failures. You gotta use them for what they're for. But then when they're done, you got to forget about them. You can't dwell on them. And a lot of us, my younger self used to dwell on my failures. I used to put so much pressure on me. And I used to have this innate fear of failing. I didn't want to fail. That was my biggest fear in life, is I'm afraid to fail. And today, man, that fear is gone. Like it's not about the fear of failing. Like my biggest thing is I want to keep growing. I want to keep finding who I am. I want to keep building those complex layers and digging down and building the best version of myself. So with that being said, that movie, it was great actually. Like when I rewatched it, it's got so much humor in it, and Sam did a great job.
Muted. Sorry.
No worries.
Like if someone wants to get into acting, what advice would you give them besides building gazebos, which seems to have worked for you and Harrison Ford?
You have to be in it for the right reasons. You have to be in it for the long haul. The very first thing I would tell you to do is go get some really good headshots. No, your mother can't take your headshots. No, my dad has a camera, let me take your headshots. You need to go to a photographer who does headshots. There's many scams out there. You know, you don't pay people to represent you. You pay for acting classes. You pay your dues to SAG if you want to join SAG. You pay your photographer for headshots because you need to build those headshots. You need to get into classes. Classes can be pretty pricey sometimes. You need to find a job that you can support yourself on. And, you know, you have to be in it for the right reasons. You can't say, I want to do it because I want to be famous, because let's be honest, 99% of actors, you know, there's a 1% side and there's the 99% of the others. But the others are important. You know, you got to believe in yourself, and you just got to do it for the right reasons. And, you know, be in it for the long haul, man, because it's going to take you, I would say, unless you get extremely lucky, I would say 10 to 15 solid years of finding yourself, building credits, getting your vouchers, building your resume. I remember all my resume stuff when I moved to LA was a bunch of lies. I'm not going to lie to you. We all do it. You kind of fake it till you make it, man. That's what you got to do. Then you start getting classes and you book some things. And I remember it's crazy to look back at 2007 and just see two things, because I save everything, you know, just see 2 credits or 3 credits on your resume. And, and I just threw some plays on there that I never really did because it looked so sad. And I was like, oh my God, it looks so pathetic. And then you just got to keep working. And no doesn't always mean no. Think about that. No doesn't always mean no. No means no maybe today, but it doesn't mean no next week, next year, 2 years, 3 years. You know, you're going to, like, you know, you got to build your relationship. You got to build your name. You got to build your brand of who you are. You got to know who you are. You got to know what kind of characters you're going to play. Start doing the research. I know what kind of characters I would instantly play. It's funny. I've been doing a lot of cop roles, blue collar. I could do army all day long. I could do anything sports wise. I could be the dad. I could be the drunk abusive husband, which I played. It was really, really hard to play that, but I played it. You know, so you got to know who you are from that character development side, and you got to get in class, man. You absolutely, positively. And not every class is right for every person. You know, you might do a class and like, oh, I didn't get anything out of it. I love the class that I'm part of. You know, with Anthony Grasso, the guy is so talented. He is a walking book of knowledge, and all your classmates become kind of, you know, they become kind of family too. And you know, that's it in a nutshell, man. You know, just have a job that's flexible. And you know, it took me 16 years, man, to find my dream job where I could have pilot season open. And then COVID hit, and then I just got a new job offer, which just became my brand new dream job, which pays me about 35% to 40% more money, and I still have the freedom to act. So, you know, those are the main things that I would tell somebody. And don't be afraid to pack your stuff up, man, and go to New York. Don't be afraid to pack your stuff up and go to LA. Not now, obviously, but when things clear. You know, find some. Texas is doing some amazing things. I love Texas. I love the people, of the culture. Texas has some amazing things happening, some amazing projects. Atlanta is a good spot. Louisiana is picking up with their productions. South Carolina and Virginia is putting projects out right now that are amazing projects. So, you know, it's not just about California anymore. I think those places I've spoke about, you know, Oklahoma, you know, things in those areas right now are picking up and doing some amazing projects. So, you know, just do your research. Don't worry about rejection. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just part of the game. and just keep believing in yourself and do it for the right reasons. And you know, life is going to take you on a journey, and be ready when your stars start to align and that positive energy starts to align and things start coming together. Just make sure that you're ready for it, because you might not get another chance. And if you don't take a chance, you're never going to know your answer. So always be willing to take a chance.
All right, thank you. I think we'll end the formal interview here, and thank you for being on this podcast. And I hope to see you in person one of these days.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.